Piankhy, or the Candace, commonly referred to as Candace. And it's kind of funny, we read history. History speaks of these great queens of Meroe, and every queen they refer to as Candace. You're like, well, wow, how many Candaces were there? Was it Candace that fought the Romans in 24 BC? Was it the Candace that was raiding for her troops to fight Alexander when he was, after Alexander conquered the Persian Empire, which Egypt encompassed at that time, which was in 330 BC? So which Candace are we referring to? When we come to find out, when we look at the language, we understand what the word Kindake, which was misinterpreted as Candace, we understand that that's the word in Meroitic for queen. So they were just saying queen, as opposed to the name of an individual. Historically, we look at the kingdom of Meroe. Meroe does not really begin to thrive until about the 4th century BC. Around the 300 and something BC period, up until about 300 AD. So about 600 years, Meroe thrives as a great, great civilization. Before Meroe, again, we had Napata. Napata begins to merge around the turn of maybe the 9th century BC, up until somewhere around the 4th century, when the kingdom began to move south. There's actually accounts or records, if you will, of Meroe and Napata existing simultaneously. So it's really unsure of when actually one ended and when the other one began. We know around the time, like I said, the 4th century, the power base, or the influx moved south. But I believe that Napata was always reverenced perhaps as the great, not only because their ancestors were there, but also the great temple of Juwan, the holy mountain of Jebel Barkal was there, the temple of Amen. And that was the seat of power, because that was the seat of actually what they refer to as the seat of the god. So no matter if it was a Meroe at that time, I believe the Meroites would have made their pilgrimages north to Napata, not only to commune with their ancestors, but to be where it actually all began. We also had a chance to visit the royal city, or should I say what the pyramid filled in Meroe was the adjoining royal city. One of the great things about the ancients, their burials weren't that far away from where they actually lived. And usually within the living quarters or the cities or the living places where they actually dwelled was always a great temple, usually to the principal deity at that time, or the principal understanding for which they were trying to relate to at that time. And in the royal city of Meroe, we see one of the great temples of Amen. We're standing here at the Roman-style bathhouse in the royal city of Meroe. We also have what they refer to as the Nubian bathhouse. And the Nubian bathhouse is quite interesting because it wasn't until about maybe 40 years ago they actually discovered the true purpose of this. And the reason when it happened was the Nile actually overflooded and the water began to come out of the mouths of these lions that are around the bathhouse. They understood that, wow, this was actually a place that they had as a bathhouse.
And the water comes inside through the mouth of all these lions. Yeah.
It's actually referred to as a Roman-style bathhouse. And one of the things you understand during this period, the Nubians, or excuse me, the Meroites, had close relations to the Romans, and they borrowed some of the Hellenistic ways of doing things. And that was an example of it.
It's 1946.
1946.
A very famous flood. He said his father, he came early in the morning just to check. He found it's full of water, you know. Then they called the people of that day in Khartoum, the head office of the antiquities. They came, they just make holes outside.
See where
from where the water comes. They just got some of the alabaster, but the water did not come from the regular, circulation of that one. All these holes, they have, yeah, it comes inside. But the main gate, you can say, for water is from that line in the corner. Okay. It comes from up to this. There is a hole over there, right, at the end of the back of the line. It comes through that one and comes inside, and down it goes out by that alabaster tubes.
In now it's funny because at this point you have to travel almost downstream to go north because the Nile makes this sharp S curve, and the quickest route to get to Napata is actually through the desert. And you cut across the desert to save time. And doing such, it's you know, I often tell people this when I speak about Nubia. It was a very surreal feeling, and to really actually go across the desert it was like literally almost going through a time machine. Sometimes thinking about it, I get goosebumps myself. And having made that trip twice, I'm like, wow, almost like I can't believe I was actually there. Every time I look at pictures, I see it, and I'm like, did it actually even take place? That's how surreal it is. It's a place that history and time just stood still. It literally stood still, and it's the most amazing thing on earth. I can't describe anything that's better than that. And I love Egypt, but this place, it's almost, like I said, it's enveloped in the fabric of time. But as we went across the desert and we arrived in Napata, one of the first places we have to visit is, again, the centerpiece for the kingdom itself, and that is the temple.
The part of one of the most important archaeological sites in Sudan, the site is called Jabal al-Barka site. Jabal al-Barka site is a part of the Kushite civilization. The chronology of this site is dated back to the mid of the 8th century BC. And now we are in front of the Amun temple. This Amun temple was not built here by the Sudanese, by the Nubians, in fact, and in order to worship the Amun. You see that it faces the sun and at the same time the Nile. Yeah, the Nile is nearby here.